Let's talk about our elite program. Our elite athletes are preparing for two critical points in the year. Number one, the quarterfinals. So what we've said here is that we've made the assumption that our elite athletes are going to cruise through stage one of the CrossFit Open. They're going to make it to the quarterfinals. Now, some of our athletes in the elite program will be more than likely progressing through the quarterfinals and making it to the semifinals. For some of our elite athletes, their season may finish there. So we have to essentially create two peaks here. The first peak is to make sure our athletes are as good as they possibly can be for the quarterfinals. And then for those who make it through the quarterfinals to the semifinals, they're going to essentially go through a second peaking structure. If we have any athletes who make it through there to the CrossFit Games, well, essentially they'll move through a third peaking structure. In terms of dates relative to today, which is the 13th of December, we know that the quarterfinals are going to be kicking off on March the 24th, and the semifinals will be held over 4 separate weekends. So depending on which weekend your competition is, essentially the first weekend will be May 20th. So how many weeks do we now have until we need to be at our best? Well, we've got 15 weeks until we need to be at our best for the quarterfinals. And we've got between 23 to 27 weeks, because we've got 4 weeks spread here, before we need to be at our best for the semifinals. So let's talk about what the training is going to look like for our elite athletes, or if you're someone who is targeting potentially passing through the quarterfinals or making it to the semifinals. We're about to embark on a new 8-week intensification phase. So what we mean by intensification now, this is essentially a bridging model between what we've been doing for the majority of the year, which is accumulation work, which basically means building strong foundations for the sport. So we've been isolating a lot of our lifts, doing a lot of bodybuilding, doing a lot of monostructural aerobic exercise, basically building strong, enduring foundations, but breaking things up a little bit. This 8-week intensification phase is going to start to essentially prepare us for a competition prep phase. So in intensification phases, now we're doing kind of less isolation work. We're starting to take a lot of the individual skills that we've been isolating and move them into more of a mixed modal setting. Probably seeing a little bit more conditioning work within the program while still trying to continue to get strong. After that 8-week intensification phase, we're then going to move into a 6-week competition prep phase. 6-week competition prep phase means that essentially we need to now start to train the way that we're going to compete for the quarterfinals. The biggest difference now that we have to consider is that the tests that we see at the quarterfinals look quite different to what our typical training looks like, which means that we're going to be doing 3 days back to back. On each of those training days, you're going to be doing multiple sessions, because that's what the quarterfinal is going to look like. So really, in this competition prep phase, we need to be changing our schedule so that we're doing pretty much a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on where you live in the world. That might be a Thursday, Friday, or a Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where we're doing at least 2 sessions in each of those days. And each of those training sessions is going to be a tester style piece, something we may see in the quarterfinals. So in this pre-comp phase, we're now kind of focusing a little bit less on trying to get fitter and stronger. This is more about maintaining our fitness, maintaining our strength, but exposing our athletes to all the potential different combinations, building confidence and awareness on things like pacing and structure for the movements and the workouts that we'll see at the quarterfinals. Of course, then just before the quarterfinal starts, we'll have a quick deload just to allow our minds and bodies to recuperate and regenerate, and then we compete for that 3-day competition. Now, for those athletes who then progress beyond the quarterfinals and make it to the semifinals, we then have, again, essentially between a 6 to 8 week semi-final competition preparation phase. The reason I say 6 to 8 is it really depends what week your semi-final falls in. So in this semi-final competition prep phase, we're now starting to prepare our athletes for live in-person competition. There is a whole number of things that go into that. That's going to have to look a little bit different to what we were doing in these phases above. After we move through that 6 to 8 week semi-final competition prep phase, we'll have a 1-week deload based on which week you're competing in, and then you will go ahead and compete in the semi-finals.